Hey, what's up? This is Kevin from Kevin's Barbecue Joints, and I am extremely excited to bring you my interview with Jeremiah Doughty from Field the Plate. You can check him out at fromfieldtheplate.com and from Field the Plate on all social media. He also has a wild game-based podcast. I'll put links to everything he has below, but I've been a fan of his for a while and was curious as to what he was doing. He was posting these photos that always had a wild game component, and I was wondering how he got involved with this, and because I knew he was from Orange County, and I find out that he grew up in Long Beach, moved to Orange County, and that's where he lives now. But I have a friend, Kelly, who goes to his church, and her girls have gotten close to him, and she mentioned him and said that I should contact him and connected us, and I'm so happy she did, because this is super interesting. It's interesting because I always wondered why he was into hunting and stuff. He was from Orange County, and I don't know a lot of hunters, and there probably are. I'm sure there's tons. But at the time, or at the time now, I don't have a lot of hunter friends out here. They're more in Texas and across the United States. But one of the big reasons why he only eats wild game meat is because he found out he was having some intestinal issues, and he found out through tests and doctors and whatnot, he has an intolerance to bovine fats and certain oils, but it's bovine fats, and so once they cut that out of his diet and certain things out of his diet, he was a million times better. And so he had to go from eating steaks, growing up Irish, eating meat and potatoes, to switching over to wild game meats, and found out that there was a lack of really good dishes, so he started creating recipes, and the rest is history. One interesting story, there's a lot of interesting stories, and you're gonna like this, and I don't want to go on too much, but Traeger, he works with Traeger, and right when COVID started, he contacted Traeger and said, hey, can you send me a pallet of pellets? They sent it, no questions asked. He broke that pallet down. He has a bunch of wild meat that he keeps in the freezer, put that together in a care package with spices and seasonings, and dropped them off to 25 people in Orange County, put them at their door, ran, said, here you go, just to help him out. So he's that type of guy, and we get into his journeys and his stories, and he has a hunting and wild game breaking down and packaging for your own consumption class in Texas. He's done these classes, 120, 130 people come out. He's doing another one in December. We talk about that and the people that have come. And we also talk about a cookbook that's coming out with 50 different recipes from all 50 states. It's very intriguing. I can't thank Jeremiah enough for taking the time. I know you're really going to enjoy this. I did notice too that while I was editing this, he speaks very calmly, and he has a specific way of speaking, and I adopted that way of speaking, which thanks Jeremiah for keeping me calm, because I usually talk a little more animated and probably half crazy in these. So thank you so much, Jeremiah, for everything. Thank you, Kelly, for connecting us. And the Kevin's Barbecue podcast and YouTube show is brought to you by Treaty Oak Distilling. They're in Dripping Springs, Texas. You can contact them at treatyoak.com, as well as go to their 28-acre facility in Dripping Springs. They have a restaurant, Alice's Restaurant, which is barbecue and live fire. You could try all their whiskeys and different cocktails there. They have a gin. They have a grocery store there based out of Alice's. Again, that's at treatyoak.com. Check them out. They're Treaty Oak on all the social media. This is also brought to you by AJ's Custom Cookers. It's at ajscustomcookers.com. AJ Ramirez, incredible welder, do almost anything. Custom is his game, but he does lots of cool stuff. Go to his website, check out everything he does. He's at AJ's Custom Cookers on all the social media. He's always posting interesting things, movies, videos, doing a lot of work. His lead time right now is about a year, but contact him. There might be ways to squeeze something in, or if it's something that he already has, then you can just get it. Again, that's ajscustomcookers.com. And if you're digging these, please subscribe. If you're just listening to the podcast version, I have a YouTube show at youtube.com/kevinsbbqjoints. I have a website at kevinsbbqjoints.com. Check it out. It has links to all the podcasts, all the YouTube stuff, tons of photo essays, barbecue news. I have a new thing called From Behind the Barbecue Front Lines that I talk to different barbecue joints about what they're doing during the pandemic, how they're dealing with this. If you're a restaurateur listening to this, you might want to check those out. They can give you some tips and some insight and some hope, hopefully, because that's the main goal, is to give all of us hope. I can be found on all the social media at Kevin's BBQ Joints. But at the end, stay safe. Thank you so much for listening. Got a bunch more of these coming up, so keep checking back. Have a great week. Talk about your podcast, and do you have a book, or do you have a book coming out someday?
I'm writing a cookbook right now called 50 and 50.
Okay.
And it's 50 wild game inspired recipes by the 50 states. So every state gets a recipe, and
that's
so
cool.
it's talking about food I've either eaten in that state that impacted me, or food that's impacted that state. Like, you can only get that food, like chislic. I mean, no one even knows what chislic is unless you're from South Dakota.
What is chislic?
It's literally just like kebabs of meat that are like deep fried. Like, instead of you grilling it and adding flavor, you just either throw it in a super hot cast iron skillet and, you know, cook it medium rare but like hard crispy outside, or you throw it in a deep fryer for like 2 minutes to get that same hard outside but that raw inside. And it's just, I don't know, it's one of those deals you look at it and you're going, but to them it's like their staple food.
Interesting.
But no one knows about it. So it's taking wild game and putting it with that twist so that South Dakotans are like, that's our food, that's our this, that's, you know, talking about a Reuben, you know.
Yeah.
People argue, was it founded in, I got the hiccups, was it founded in New York, or was it founded in that wonderful state of Nebraska? And it was actually founded in the wonderful state of Nebraska, which not a lot of people know.
I didn't know that either. Wow, gosh, this is already informative.
Yeah, so
nice, thank you, Jeremiah.
Food to me is a memory, and it's a way for us to look back at our lives. And so if you could take that moment from somebody else that lives in a different country or a different city or state in this instance, and bring that passion back to them, you know. And chislic, I didn't know about it till I was in South Dakota for a conference. Someone's like, we're gonna go out and get chislic. I go, dude, I don't drink. And because to me it sounds like a liquor. It
does, yeah.
And they're like, nah, just trust us. And we go to this bar, and I'm like, dude, I told you I'm not drinking. And they order chislic, and it comes literally with saltine crackers, hot sauce, and fried skewers of meat. I was like, all right, I'm down.
Interesting.
Down for that, so.
Does it come from, were there like Lebanese people that had moved to a little area in there? Or I wonder how or is that just things on a stick have always been something that people do?
Things on a stick in the South, man. That's what they do. Now, from what I was researching, it was part of like just the Germans and stuff that moved in there. It was just kind of their way of cooking stuff. And again, you think about when you're cooking over a fire, you've just got a stick and meat, and you throw it in a hot cast iron, and that's what it becomes. But yeah, it's just crazy to look at culinary aspects from each state, because a lot of times we just view our state, and I mean, again, I'm here in Southern California, so it's like, sushi, fish tacos, let's go eat it.
But people are immensely proud of their state and their city and the foods from their area and childhood. Like there's a sense of pride. I know that liver mush, when I would go to North Carolina a lot, that was something. And liver mush, have you ever had liver mush before?
No.
I think they'd always talk about it, and I honestly didn't totally know what it was, but I think it was something, at one point it was something with possum liver, but I think that it's like a mash or a hash that's made with liver.
I'm gonna go research it because I've got like 7 livers in my freezer. So
I'll find out. I'll text it to you if I find the recipe.
You totally just wrote it down. I'm gonna check it out. So,
dude, where did you grow up? In Los Angeles or in Orange County?
Long Beach.
Long Beach?
Yeah, born and raised right there by Long Beach Airport.
Oh yeah, because I lived off a Second for a little while in Long Beach.
Yeah, no, I was right Long Beach, Lakewood, that border over there, and that was my whole life, was Bellflower, Lakewood, Long Beach, just kind of in that little trifecta. And then when I met the woman of my life, gosh, forever ago, and she lived in Huntington Beach, and so, and then I got a restaurant job down there, and then just moved down to Huntington. I've been here for the past 20 years.
Do you like it living in Huntington?
It's a lot better weather than being inland. You got an ocean breeze, and it's nice. It's a nice, slower pace of, in the rush of LA aspect, it's a slower pace. Even though it's not slower, it's slower in the sense that it's like, dude, bro, for sure, rather than like, get out of my way, honk honk.
No, but there's something different when you get down, like when you go north of Los Angeles, it feels different on your soul, and then when you get south of Los Angeles, it just feels, there's a whole different vibe, and just the weather seems to all of a sudden become better too, and it's just, I don't feel like the sense of rush. Yeah, Los Angeles isn't within my soul. I love the food in Los Angeles, and I have a lot of friends here, but I'm actually was planning on moving my mom somewhere like in the San Juan Capistrano, that type of area, and then I was going to live by her, but this COVID happened, and so we're a little trapped at the moment.
you get a bunker down by the 4 or 5 of the 5.
I moved like so much stuff into storage. I was so ready. We're almost like 90% packed, and then I thought, it's probably not a good idea to bring a 75-year-old woman looking for places at this time right now.
No, I made a lot less cases down here than up there, though. So
that's true. Yeah, maybe it would be the ideal thing. And let's before we go back into your upbringing COVID right now for you, it's definitely, this is interesting time for you because you said that you are busy doing a lot of schooling and dealing with that. How is that?
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. And that's, I mean, I was born and raised, I was raised homeschooled. And so
I know that.
yeah. And so for me, it's getting back to the roots. And so if I could just take it and do their schooling, I think it'd be a lot different than having to follow a teacher's curriculum. Because the teachers, in the teacher's mind, they're teaching to a classroom and not to an individualized student, which a lot of us are having your student at home, you're realizing that it is not geared towards your student, it's geared towards their age. And so you can watch I have one in kindergarten and one in fourth grade. And my kindergartner is knocking out her stuff in like 2 seconds. And so you tell the teacher, and she's like, well, some of the other kids are taking about an hour to do it. And so for us, it's one of those deals where now I'm making her do more stuff. She's like, but that's not on my list. But I feel like I'm twice as busy now than when I was, just for the fact that now every company that I work with is sitting at home with nothing to do. And so they want more and more and more because they're bored. They're like, oh, we want 7 recipes. We want videos. I'm like, dude, I don't have time to sit there and knock out 4 videos for you. Usually I do videos when my kids are at school and my wife's at school, but now, or my wife's at work, but now my wife's sitting, in the dining room table. I'm upstairs in the bedroom. The girls are running around yelling and screaming. The dog is like, why are you guys still home? This is my alone time. And it just, it's the new craziness that's hopefully does not last the summer because it's 95 today here. And it is just, I can't imagine being stuck inside all summer. I know.
That's what yesterday, because it was really hot, and I went to the market to do shopping, and I thought this summer being trapped is going to be really difficult. I honestly think that what we had talked off the air, I think people are going to venture out. It's not going to be something where people will stay indoors, especially in California.
No, I'm about ready to go play on the beach. I'm just saying.
Just say.
I'm gonna build a sandcastle like 10 feet away. I'm like, kids, we're gonna play inside the sandcastle.
You'll be safe. Yeah.
Yeah, it's 10 feet, and then we'll all have the reverse Homer Simpson from wearing stupid masks.
You have an allergy. Did you start doing what you're doing because you have an allergy to beef? Is that like I've never heard that before, and it must be semi-common, right? Is that?
It's actually getting more and more common, and it's the more I'm talking about it, the more people are like, "Oh my gosh, guess what I have?"
Okay.
Yeah, no, I've always been a hunter, but here in Southern California, it's all about the birds, and because deer are really hard to hunt in Southern California. I mean, they're doable, but it's a very hard hunt unless you got some private property. And so for me, it was always ducks, dove, quail, chucker, pheasant. Growing up doing that since I was 6 years old.
Really?
Oh yeah, it's just we were the SoCal rednecks,
Where would you guys go out? Would you go like to Sequoia? Like where do you like that area?
No, man, we go down to like Blythe.
Oh, okay, that way.
Yeah, or the desert, like all the desert mountain quail that are back there. On the backside of Big Bear, there's a lot of quail back there. There's chucker. Just finding different areas to go up in, Santa Isabel and stuff like that.
Okay.
You can get a lot of those upland game birds and rabbits and stuff. And then, gosh, how long has it been? 2008, so 12 years now. I started getting really, really sick eating, and I worked at restaurants, and so I was always eating restaurant food. If you've ever worked at a restaurant, you work 14 hours a day, and you just literally eat anything that comes back that a guest ordered wrong. It's like, oh, great, I'm having ribs today. I didn't feel like them, but...
Oh, fries. A big plate of fries came back.
Yeah, that had been sitting in the window for 7 hours, and it's like, oh, yay, just get me some barbecue sauce. And I was getting really sick at work, and it's started off with kind of like IBS-type symptoms.
Okay.
And then it went into like the worst flu of your life for like 3 hours. And it affected me so much that I wasn't eating anymore at work. So I'd be going because I didn't know what it was.
You thought it was associated maybe with work, right? That something was...
Yeah, something in the food or whatever. And then it's a restaurant business. Everything can give you indigestion. And so then it started affecting my wife and I had just got married. It started affecting our relationship because it's I didn't want to go out with friends because I'm like, dude, I get sick and I'm sitting in a freaking bathroom at a restaurant for 3 hours.
Yeah, that's...
it's just pointless.
You don't want to be that guy, and it's this terrible feeling, yeah.
Yeah, we went to this one Italian restaurant, I remember one time. It's one of those deals where it's we got to go now. She's like, bye, guys, right in the middle of dinner. And they're like, what the heck's going on? And then her friends are like, no, he doesn't like us. It's like, no, it's not that. I mean, I don't. Or I didn't.
It's true, but...
And so it just became one of those deals where it was affecting everything. And so I started doing testing, because that's right when celiac was becoming a thing. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, well, maybe I'm gluten, maybe there's this gluten that's affecting me, but I could eat a peanut butter and jelly sandwich all day long. That's pretty much what I lived off of. I'm like, it's not peanuts. Yeah. It's not any of that stuff. And so finally found someone that would do like extreme testing, and they were like, hey, it's all through sort of that IBS type realm of testing. It's all about the bowels and the intestines, stuff like that. I know, hey, we're talking about food. Let's talk about digestive system.
But people listening to this might have this, and this could be an eye-opener to them, because this is not cool.
You'd be surprised the messages I get going, oh my gosh. And so what they found out is through the testing that I have an intolerance to bovine fats and certain other oils and fats and stuff like that. So if you look at some vegetable oils, I can't do canola oils or vegetable oils, all that kind of stuff. Is sunflower seed oil is a huge. I can eat raw sunflowers, but the oil of sunflowers through the processing of whatever affects my body, and my body just needs to get rid of it as fast and furious as it can, and it just needs to find a way out in the most polite way of saying that.
No, but your body's a smart machine. This could help people if they're having this similar things, even though it's not the most appetizing thing to talk about. People a lot of times are driving or running or doing something when they're listening to this anyway, so that it could spark them to do some more research. Now, bovine, so you said canola oil, all those different, like certain specific oils. After you stopped doing this, did you see noticeable results quickly?
Oh, man, they gave me a list of, I think it was like 26 things. There was 5 lists that they gave, 5 or 6 lists that they gave me. And they're like, you're going to start with this first list. You're going to give it up for 30 days because your body starts to reset itself after 30 to 60 days. Okay. So your body will you'll start to see changes. Right? That's why everyone does like Whole30 and all that other stuff, because after 30 days, your body's starting to figure out what the new normal is and reset it and all that stuff.
Okay.
And so the first, I look at the first list and it's like beef fats, beef tallows. I'm sitting there going, what? I mean, I'm an Irish kid. I grew up eating nothing but beef.
Yes.
And I worked at a steakhouse at the time, and I'm like, dude, I sell high-end steaks and like beef ribs and you name it. And I was like, all right, I'll give it all up. And after those 30 days, I had not felt that good in years. And I was like, man, it cannot be this list. But I didn't have one flare up. I was reading the back of packages. You'd be surprised how much stuff has beef in it.
Interesting.
Like even like pork jerkies or like pork sausages. It's like, oh, and beef tallow or beef collagen or beef. And you're like, oh my gosh, really? And so that's why I didn't know what was affecting me, because it was coming from I would order a sausage and I'd get sick. And it's like, what the frick, man? And so it really became more conscious of what I was doing. So then I went back to the doctor and I'm like, all right. They're like, okay, do the next list. I started the next list, but I went back and ate a steak that night and started just puking my guts out in 10 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, well, that sucks. I guess I'm off red meat for the rest of my life. So that was about a year of me not eating any red meat, of just eating the birds that I had shot, chicken, turkeys, you name it, pork.
You could do pork, right?
Yeah, there's some manufactured pork. So what they actually figured out is I'm allergic to an enzyme that develops in the fat of the animal once it becomes like domesticated. And so anything that's being fed hormones, all that kind of stuff, there's something that comes through that. And so it's actually the enzyme within the bovine fat and oils and stuff that through the process of whatever, there's an enzyme that develops that my body's like, F you, I don't want it. That really forced my hand into the big game hunting world, because I was a meat potato guy. Like I told you, I just couldn't do it anymore. I could not eat another chicken breast or another turkey burger. I was like, I can't do this. And so I was actually getting ready to go archery hunting here in the San Diego mountains. And I was at the range getting ready, and this old timer pulled out a bow next to me and we start talking. And he's like, oh, I'm going to Wyoming. I was like, man, I wish I could go to Wyoming and hunt, but it's just so expensive. Like, I can't afford that. And he's like, dude, it's like at the time, I think it's $49 now because I just bought another tag, but it was $38 for a doe tag and license in Wyoming.
Wow. That's
cheaper than a California state hunting license minus deer tag's another $20 on top of that. And so I literally put my bow back in my case, drove home, bought 2 over-the-counter license, and went to Wyoming with a buddy.
Just drove out there?
Yeah, we drove in his Honda Civic.
Nice. Piled
all his crap. We had never big game hunted. We both had he had his dad's old rifle. I went to Walmart and bought a rifle or a $20 rifle scope, and I had no idea what I was doing. We're from Southern California. We surfed and rode motorcycles and shot shotguns really well. So we get out there, and it was the hardest hunt, 7-day hunt of our lives, because we had no idea what we were doing. And we both ended up harvesting meat, and we brought it home. And in my opinion, I hated the meat. I hated it because I wasn't used to it. I didn't know how to cook it, And so I looked at this meat and I'm like, oh man, but there was that mentality growing up, like you shoot it, you eat it.
Mm-hmm.
Even so much, we shot a crow in our backyard in Orange County, or actually it was Long Beach. And my dad got so mad, he made us like pluck it and eat this crow, this city crow.
Really? And you actually ate
you
crow?
Killed it. Yeah, literally. You know, you killed it, you eat it. You're like, oh man. And so for me, there was not an option of not to eat this meat. But at the time, I had a 2-year-old and a wife who's like, I don't know. And so I just took all my cumulative restaurant knowledge and just forced it all into flavor profiling and understanding the depths of flavors and looking at it as like a wine sommelier would look at a steak. What nodes are in that wine are going to pair well with that steak. And I was like, okay, well, the antelope had a very strong sage flavor to it, and a very, very strong, overpowering sage flavor. And so it's like, what can I do that's going to pair well with this sage? And so I just started developing recipes on my free time just to get through the meat. And my family started really enjoying it, started understanding it. A lot of Asian cuisine came with it, because if you think about sage, it doesn't sound like an Asian cuisine. It sounds like Thanksgiving. But the flavors that pair well with it are soy, ginger, garlic, star anise. All these things that are Asian-inspired seasonings pair phenomenally with that wild sage flavor. And so I just started doing that, and next thing you know, people are starting to ask me for more recipes. Companies are starting to look at me. And so
did you start the blog at that time?
I started the blog at that time, like 2013, 2014, I think is what it was.
Okay.
And I wrote a story on taking my 4-year-old daughter hunting. So it was 14 because she's born in 10. Just did some just put up a blog because I was bored. You know, I was working at the restaurant. I was nighttime manager. So during the day I was sitting home with a 2-year-old that was sleeping. And so I started a blog, and I look back at it and I laugh at the old stories and the pictures. I'm like, how did anyone ever start following me? Like, just the stuff I put out then versus what I put out now.
That's like mine. Yeah. Now it's phenomenal.
Yeah, we're all that way though. We all look at our stuff past, and
even looking at what you wore 20 years ago is
yeah, it's like that 80s haircut, or that pair of 70s high water pants that you look back going, oh my gosh.
Everyone was very good. Yes.
Even so much of like looking at like facial hair. I'm like, man, I was so handsome. Now I'm just an old rugged mountain.
No, you look the part.
Yeah, there you go. So it thrust me into this world. And so fast forward doing that for a couple of years. And then in 2016, in October of 2016, I left my high paying restaurant job to pursue no money. But it was a passion, and it was a project. And it was, to me, like I said, food had a story. And I said, I got to do this. My wife has a nice job. She works for the city of Newport Beach. Oh. So she's like, well, we know we can get by. I'm going to give you 2 years to pursue this and see. Because I've just been working my butt off since I was 16 years old. And I was like, I just can't do it. I'm not happy. You know, we just had another kid. And I was like, I gotta do something to make me happy. And so I just jumped ship, and the restaurants start throwing more money at me. I get calls from other restaurants once they found out I left, because I ended up becoming a corporate trainer. Worked my way up where I was developing training and developing programs for high-end companies for back of the house, front of the house.
That's a
service
big deal.
Yeah, it was
for them. It's a big deal.
Yeah, and to this day, I still get calls from companies. Hey, can you do this? And now I'll still just do it for them because I realize I don't have to make a commitment to be part of that.
Well, that's nice. You could kind of freelance.
Yeah, just like, sure, I'll write you a training program. Here you go. And they're like, oh, great. I'm like, all right, that's this much money. They're like, great. I mean, now it's gonna be like how to wear a mask and gloves when you serve.
Yeah, this is a whole.
Yeah, so then that was 4 years ago that I just dove into it, and I started Instagram. So in the past 4 years, I've gained 50,000 followers on Instagram alone just by doing nothing but putting out food and real. I try to be as real as I can. There's all these social media people that are just fake as fake can be.
For sure. No, there's thousands of them.
Oh, it's just
every type of genre.
Yeah. And they still, and no offense, the girls with their boobs hanging out are always going to do better than me, because I'm not a hot, good looking CrossFit guy that runs with a bow and arrow. So it's not like I'm going to get looked at either. So for me, it was, how can I make myself stand out? And that was making food that's affordable, that people can make. All my meals average like $15 to make at home. It's not expensive to do.
And they look really good. Like even like that Nashville chicken, I'm like, holy hell.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, no, it's something for me. It's
and the sausage you're doing. Were you making sausage before?
Oh, I wasn't doing anything, man. I was in my family growing up. We were all forced to cook with my mom, but my mom did the same 7 meals because there was, a million of us kids, and we didn't have a lot of money. So it was like, Mondays were always spaghetti night. Tuesdays were always taco night. Wednesday was always meatloaf night. Thursday was always whatever was left over with spaghetti and throw it into a big goulash. And we had a taco, meatloaf, spaghetti casserole. You know, my grandpa was a huge barbecuer. My dad was a huge barbecuer, all charcoal. And learning all that stuff, you know, learning how to make the proper burger patty. You'd be surprised how many people don't know how to form a patty.
Without a doubt.
And create the perfect burger. And so I took all that knowledge, and then working in the restaurant since I was 16, took all that and said, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it right. And I just went for it. Now I've got, you know, now I'm writing for giant name companies, TV shows. I mean, I just created a burger that's going to be on the front cover of a magazine, which is amazing. When I first started this 4 years ago, I said my only goal with this entire thing is to get put in a magazine. And, you know, now I've been in magazines for the past 4 years. I'm like, well, now I got to be on the cover. And so I got asked by a company and designed this burger that just looks insane. And it's going to be on the cover of their July magazine. And I'm just super stoked because it's like, okay, I made it. Now it's to Get in Garden and Guns magazine. That
magazine is one of my all-time favorite magazines. And
gorgeous.
Yeah, absolutely. Gorgeous. And the articles, like I have retweeted them 1,000 times over my life. And
anyone listening, it's not like, hey, I'm going to go plant a carrot and have a gun.
No.
It's a beautifully done, thick coffee table book magazine that talks about food and talks about a culture surrounding food. And yes, it happens to have some guns in there sometimes, but 90% of it is Southern cooking.
Southern cooking, yeah, it's all.
And Southern spirits and wines and stuff like that. So, but yeah, it's just a beautiful magazine, beautifully well done.
Transition, and she gave you that go ahead. What did that feel like? Were you scared?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because failure is never something that you want to. And you always hear about those companies and people and it's not like I was starting a company right off the bat that was bringing in money. I'm starting a lifestyle, a brand.
Yeah, brand yourself, yeah.
And trying to make this happen. And so it was super nervous, I was taking money from people that, and I look back now and I wish I didn't take money from, but you're sitting there trying to develop who you are. You know, now I'm at the spot where I'm turning away companies that don't have the same standards that I have and don't fit the same persona that I have. And I'm okay with that. And it's cool to turn down lots of money, but still be true to yourself and be happy with who you are. And
you recommend for people that are kind of starting out where you started a few years ago, do you recommend, I guess you have to be scrappy, but in the same respect, you have to keep your integrity?
Yeah, for me, I was never scrappy. There was a couple companies that I just took money from because of the products they had that I wanted. And it was like, hey, products and money. I'm like, good, I need that product because, again, I don't have a lot of money. So if I can get that grill or I can get that thermo pin, gotcha. That's $120. And all I got to do is write you an article. Sure, I'll write you an article.
They're not expensive, but they're so worthwhile.
Stupid. It's the only one I might have got 12 of them in the cupboard now because if you lose one, you feel like it's the end of the world. And so I say now for me, it's about finding companies that I can build relationships with. I want to be part of the family, not part of the corporation, is what my motto is. And if I would have told myself that back 4 years ago, I think I would have been even more better off. But there's companies that I'm a part of that don't pay me as much as other companies that are offering. But I feel like I'm part of the family, and I feel like
that's great advice.
I feel like they involve me and they want to be a part of me and they're pushing me to be better. And I'm not just another cog in the wheel. They're actually one of the companies I'm a part of is Traeger. Now Traeger is a ginormous company that, they got 472 influencers. Mm-hmm. But when I get an email from the owner and CEO and he's asking me about my kids, there's a moment there that says, I got to stick with these guys. Mm-hmm. I have to be a part of these guys. Because there's other companies that had 100 influencers and I didn't even know who the owner of the company was. But when Trevor reaches out and says, hey man, I've got a question on elk. He's reaching out to me, who I still see myself as a nobody. And there's this multimillionaire that he's just living his life and loving his family and 6 kids. And so it's finding companies that follow who you want to be and not stepping down to their level, but having them step up to your level.
It's interesting because everyone I know that works for Traeger seems to be happy, or that does work with Traeger seems to be happy. I know that Diva Q, I know she's really happy. I know Matt Pittman.
Oh, yeah. And I know all them. I talked to Diva 2 days ago, Danielle, and actually I'm looking at her picture on my Skype right now because we just Skyped. But we're all happy because, again, they treat us like we're family, mm-hmm. and they allow us to be honest and open to who we are. Like when this whole COVID thing started, it was week 2 into quarantine, and I wrote them and said, I need a pallet of pellets. and they sent me a pallet of pellets so I could drive around Orange County dropping off pellets at people's houses.
That's amazing.
And it was just one of those deals where I went through I've got 2 freezers full of wild game meat. And so I just knew of like 25 people in Orange County that had Traegers, and I made a care package. I put seasonings, spices, pellets, and meat. And I just put on their porch, knocked on the door, ran, and was like, Merry Christmas.
That's so nice.
But that's a company that was like, yeah, here, we're going to send you $800 worth of pellets. Go have fun.
No questions asked. That's
no questions asked.
What they want to do.
And I'm not sitting here plugging them, but I am saying the fact that they're
a company that has a good heart.
It's a huge heart, and their product works. I mean, and that's another thing is before you sign any contract, get the product in hand to try it out. That's another big thing. And if companies don't want to give you product before they pay you, it's not a company you want to be with.
That's a good point too.
Because if someone wants you to use your barbecue and you sit there saying, hey, I want to try it out for a month before I do anything with it, and they're like, no, it's not going to work. Well, there's something wrong with their barbecue.
Mm-hmm. They don't trust themselves.
Yeah, I mean, I've had knife companies like, oh, why don't you use this knife? And I was like, well, I'm going to use it for 30 days, and I'll tell you, my thoughts on it, and we'll go from there. They're like, no, our knife's amazing. It's German steel. I was like, German steel still rusts, still breaks, still falls apart, still doesn't stay sharp. And they're like, oh, well, I don't think you're for us. And I'm like, exactly. So if you can't find a company that's going to say, you know what, here, give it the ringer. There's a new company out, Meat, which is like processing gear, MEAT.
Okay.
Meet Your Maker. But it's an amazing new company out there that's geared towards home butchers. And they were just throwing stuff at people saying, break them, try your hardest to use it. If I say this vacuum sealer can do 800 bags, here's 800 bags, vacuum sealed 800 bags worth of stuff. And those are companies that you're sitting there going, okay, yeah, I'm going to try this. I'm going to, and I went and got a hog and I broke it down into 800 little pieces. I was like, all right, let's do this. Right. And this thing freaking vacuum sealed like crazy. I called them. I was like, dude, this is amazing. And so you look at these companies that are buying into their product, they're going to buy into you. If they're not buying into their product, you're just free advertisement for them.
Well, and also too, I think people, I know that people trust who you are representing and who you talk about because they know that you have that kind of integrity and that you have tried something for 30 days prior to using it, because you seem like an open book about everything you talk about.
That's true. And also with companies, it's one thing that I've started is I talk to companies that I don't even want to talk about money for 60 to 90 days because they come in with money. I was like, no, I want to know who you are, I want you to know who I am, and see if we're a true fit. And you'd be surprised how many more companies are willing to throw money at you when you build a relationship with them and you show them what you can. Because sometimes there's companies that I think are going to be an amazing fit, and after 90 days, I'm like, nope. Yeah. And so no contract was signed, and no water off anyone's back.
That's better for you too. Yeah.
We walk our own ways, but it's cool for these big companies to go, you don't want to talk about money? I was like, nope. Well, we'll talk about money on April 17th, if that's what we want to talk about. And these companies are like, awesome. And then you do become, again, part of that team, and they see that you truly are invested in their product, and you can be honest with them, because you're not. I always feel if I'm giving a review, I have to be honest. Mm-hmm. And if I'm being paid to give a review right off the bat, I don't feel I can be honest. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, oh, they gave me a $500 paycheck. Yeah, this knife was great.
It feels weird.
But in your hand, you're like, oh, I'm not going to use this knife. I'm going to give it to my nephew for Christmas. So that's just kind of like that rule of thumb is truly just be honest with who you are and open and honest to these companies, because most of the time you're talking to some little guy that has been talking to 500 other influencers. Mm-hmm. And if you can make the impact to stand out, it's going to spark an interest in his head that he wants to be a part of you and what you're doing, rather than just, hi, I'm hot, can I have the product?
Is there a way to baby step your way into wild game and to get into this world that you're into? Not to become an influencer nor sell product or become famous, but more so just to get into, is there a way to slowly, is it to get by venison? Would you recommend getting quail? Are there places that you recommend in Los Angeles or Orange County that you can go shop at to start buying meats to get into this and then start using your recipes? Because I'm going to put links to all your stuff because you have amazing recipes and you have a plethora of them. So where would you recommend people? I
tell everyone, especially because there's this new federal granted program that's going around called R3 movement, which is geared toward adult onset hunters, people your age, my age, who haven't hunted before or maybe want to get back into hunting because they hunted when they were 6, 7, 8. Okay. And it's this program that's based towards like getting people out there. And here in California, we have a million programs that are free or like $5 to be a part of through California Wildlife Fish and Game. And most states have it. Some states are even better at it. I know that in Alabama, they've got like free hunting days. I can take you hunting with me on my tag and my license for one day just to get you excited about it. But I think I tell everyone, start out with birds. You don't have to be phenomenal with it. Shotguns are pretty cheap. Shot shells are really cheap. And you don't have to be quiet. You don't have to be stealthy. You're walking out in the middle of the field trying to shoot a duck or try to shoot a dove. And it's a bird. I know it sounds bad, but there's really not an emotional attachment when you shoot a dove versus dropping a giant deer or a bear. Same thing like fishing. Like guys can go fish all day long and they're like, that's a fish.
Yeah.
Same thing when they're shooting
like
a bird.
Bug,
like, it's a duck. Like whatever. For me, it's still emotional because I'm like, oh man, I still took a life. But for a lot of people, they don't blink in their eyes. They're just sitting on the water. It's just a duck, or it's just a dove flying, through the trees or whatever. And so starting small and working your way up, I think is a huge thing. There's a couple like places in LA where you can get like the rattlesnake and rabbit sausages and stuff like that. Those are always kind of
crochet.
Yeah. And those are fun places you can start to trying different wild game meats. But I think your biggest thing is just any of the recipes I have are made for meat. Just because I utilize it with a rack of venison doesn't mean you can't do it with a rack of lamb. Just because I do it with an elk steak doesn't mean you can't go get a wagyu. A recipe is a recipe. Meat is meat. And so trying these out just to kind of see the flavor profile and see how they taste with, again, I haven't had any cow meat in 10 years, 11 years. So
that's amazing.
For me, I think if I eat cow now, I'd be like, oh, what's this nasty thing I'm putting in my mouth?
Maybe do like a side-by-side comparison. And maybe make a recipe with beef and then make it with venison later on, or? Yeah,
I mean, I've done like elk and all that kind of stuff. There's this year, which I'm kind of bummed about with this COVID stuff. I was supposed to go to Hawaii, and they've got feral cows running around Hawaii up on the volcanoes on the main island.
Oh, interesting.
Oh yeah, they've been there for 100-something years, and I guess they're more skittish than like deer and aggressive. They'll attack you and all this other stuff, but they're completely wild. They have no herd mentality. I mean, that's all they are is herd mentality. There's no domesticated aspect to them. And so I wanted to go, and we were going to go hunt them and actually put this theory to test about modern farming and seeing if there's something with this enzyme, if it truly is a bovine fat or if it's a process of their environment and what we're putting animals through.
Like a stress or something?
Yeah, during the butchering, during the herding into cattle cars and everything else into the butchering process. And we were going to go and hunt these, but with this whole outbreak, it's put on the back burner. But we were going to eat it. I was going to have medical care there with me. I was going to have scientists to go, and they were going to process the fat. And
were you going to film all this?
Oh, it was all going to be filmed. Yeah, we were all going to film. We're still going to do it, but it's one of those deals where it's. And then we were going to.
I'm excited
for that. We're going to sit there and eat it, and say, all right, 30 minutes. Let's see what happens to my body.
It's a great theory because it's probably true.
Right, and I have friends in the cattle industry. I have friends in the farming industry, especially being in the outdoor industry or in the food industry since I was 16. I know a lot of these people. And so for me, I'm not ragging on how they're doing it, but I think there could be a better way for some of these giant, I'm not talking about the small mom and pop operations who are killing it, who are actually, doing what they're supposed to do. But I'm talking about driving down the 5 to Sacramento and seeing these farms that are 40 acres thick of black and whites and blacks.
Yeah, and you smell it as soon as you start driving through it. You can tell.
Yeah, as soon as you go over the grapevine, it's hitting you in the face. Especially on a hot day. I'm talking about those that, I worked on a milk dairy farm for a summer in high school. It's disgusting.
Where was this? In
Tulare, Visalia area. I don't know. There's just this process behind food. And so I'm excited to be a part of it, and I'm excited to answer questions for people that have, I have a podcast called Wild Game Based, and it's talking about everything wild game. And we have listener emails where people write in, and we try to answer anything that they're coming through them. And sometimes you'll get this question going, really? But it's somebody asked that question. Somebody really wants the answer. And you'd be surprised how many people don't ask, but want the answer. And so that one, just like you talking about this allergy, I've talked about it a billion times, but there's one person that listens to you that doesn't listen to anybody else that can hear it. And you know what? Hey, I'm really getting sick with that too. What should I try?
And if they've got that, they can listen to a lot of your stuff, but also too, they can write you through your website and ask questions, and you could provide them with information.
Oh yeah, yeah. From field to plate on everything, so it's really easy to find me.
It is, and also too, just our connection through Kelly Williams and her family through the church. Is that the?
Oh yeah.
What church is that?
First Christian in Huntington Beach, off of Main and Adams.
So do you cook for them?
No, I work with the youth over there.
Okay.
I work with junior high and high school students, and I cook for all their camps.
That's
so
what it was. Okay.
Yeah, I go cook on the beach with. I mean, last year what did we have? We had 80 something junior hires sitting in the beach in San Clemente.
Wow.
And I had 4 Traegers, and I was cooking breakfast, lunch, and dinner on Traegers and skillets. And the kids are eating better than most kids at camp because, we're doing pulled pork, we're doing ribs, we're doing tri-tips, we're doing pizzas.
It wasn't all game. It was.
No, it's all domesticated meat just because the kids.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was curious as to what the kids' reaction was, but
No, but I'll bring like a big elk. Like I'll bring a giant, elk loin and slice it real thin, and any student wants to try it, tries it. And you'd be surprised how many parents come to me and be like, dude, my kid cannot stop raving about. I've taken a lot of dads hunting because I've fed their kids wild game.
Oh, that's great.
I killed a bobcat and made bobcat barbacoa tacos and brought it to a high school group. And all the kids are like, oh, what? And next thing you know, I get parents. I'm like, oh, I'm going to get in trouble. But every parent's like, thank you. That was so awesome that our kids could experience something, especially living in the most anti-hunting area we can live, anti-gun, anti-everything. And so you get these parents. But I also do a lot of cooking at church. We'll do like men's events, women's events. Last year, Father's Day, we cooked 270 pounds of bacon for Father's Day. And
that's a lot.
Every person that walked into church were like, here's bacon before service. Here's bacon after service. Just me and another guy out there with just trays of bacon, cooking them on Traegers and other things. So yeah, no. So I think I have her daughter in high school group right now, and so it's just one of those deals where you just get to know people through. And when you talk about food, you talk about hunting. Either you like it or you don't like it. And if you don't like it, then great, I'll shake your hand and still give you a hug and a high five, but I'm not going to waste my breath on someone that's being rude and mean.
And you teach classes too, right?
Yeah, I teach classes every year. Last year, taught 130 brand new adult hunters from how to pull the trigger to putting it in a vacuum seal bag after they butchered it hands on. And so we're actually getting our classes set up. We're getting 2 classes set up for the end of December. Those will be posted on my website here soon. And it takes place in South Texas because we have a controlled environment. We rent out a giant 200,000 acre ranch. We go and we hunt deer, we hunt hogs, we hunt javelina, and then bring it back. And I have cooking classes every night. And then you learn how to butcher your animal and you take your animal home.
I'm signing up for that for sure. I'll promote it too because I'll be going to Texas probably once this is over at least 5 times this year. So that's.
Oh yeah. And to me, it's one of those deals that I've taken out people that I had a lady who was in her 60s come to the class. And she came to the class not for her, but for her sons. Her husband's out of the picture, and her sons want to learn how to hunt. And there was no one around her that learned how to hunt, so she came to a class to learn how to hunt, to go home and take her sons, 17 and 18 years old, out on their first hunt.
How great is that? And
so I'm sitting in a blind listening to her story and talking to her and building a relationship with this lady who, she shoots a deer. We're sitting there bawling in the blind, not because we shot a deer, but because she now has the ability to go teach her kids.
Yeah, what that means.
There was a guy that was in Secret Service or in Special Forces. We couldn't even know his name. His name was John Doe, and he literally showed up at the ranch, hunted with us, and then woke up one morning. He was gone, and we literally all had to sign papers that we wanted to ask questions. But he was part of the U.S. military and wanted to learn how to hunt. And I've had heart surgeons from New York City. One of the guys came out. He came out multi-million-dollar heart surgeon in New York. Showed up to the class, handed me his cell phone, and said, I don't care if it rings, I don't care whatever, I'm off the grid for 3 days. And he starts telling us how he was so fed up with heart surgeries and everything. And he went to the waiting room because he needed a break. And there was a magazine that I had done an article in about these classes. And he picked it up and he was reading it. He had no desire to hunt, never ever wanted to hunt in his life.
This is amazing.
Read about it, went online, bought a spot at the class, came to the class, and he goes, I needed 3 days away. And he just sent me a picture that he drew an elk tag. So this guy that, and he's going to go to New Mexico and shoot elk. But to me, hunting isn't what you see on TV. It's not hillbillies high-fiving, saying you shot them. There's a connection with your food. And everyone that goes to the classes realizes it is the latter. It is about the food, and it's about the camaraderie and the time spent in the blind getting to know people.
No, that's why I would want to do it.
Yeah, than shooting a deer in the face, because I've tried eating antlers and horns, and I just can't find a way to make them tender. And so
slow cooker.
Yeah, and then throw it away or give it to your dog. So for me, it's all about the meat. Yeah. And at my classes, it's all about the meat. And I get made fun of a lot by a lot of people in the outdoor industry because I am not the hooting, hollering, high-fiving, jumping up and down, screaming I killed it. I'd much rather go out and shoot a doe than shoot a buck because the meat tastes better.
But this is why I'm glad I talked to you. This is like I feel I've learned so much more, especially about the hunting world and about I think how you are is more akin to how I feel. How many podcasts?
Our goal is to do one a week. We just finished recording this morning. We just put it up. It's top 10 venison recipes between me and my co-host.
And having a vegan hunter
Yeah, did you listen to it?
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you that story of me. What I didn't say is that my brother had a pistol in his hand just in case stuff went south when he drove up in his Prius. True story. Because again, I get so many death threats.
Yeah, I was going to say that might come. I didn't want to end it with this, but does that come with the territory of their?
When it first started, it was one of those deals with me. It was, oh my gosh, I'm getting a death threat. What do I do? And it turned into me treating it like I would treat anything else. And I started coming at it with respect and honor and knowledge. And I now have tons of vegans and vegetarians who follow me based on the food I'm putting out, based on the story. I was teaching a class. Traeger has shop classes where you go and you can buy a ticket and go to a whole event at their evening at their warehouse in Salt Lake City. And they want to do a wild game based one. And so I went in there, was cooking, and there was a lady in there with her husband. And her husband's a huge bow hunter. She's a vegetarian. And all I'm putting out that night, I put out like a venison roulade. I put out beer smoked chicken. Duck. And I'm doing all this other stuff I'm putting out. And I noticed that she's not eating anything, right? And I didn't say anything. I'm up at the front teaching. And then I brought out one dish, and I'm telling the story behind the dish. Every recipe I write has a story. It's not just like, no, I'm going to put together a burger. Something in that burger sparked a story, or something in that, like that roulade. The owner and founder of Mossy Oak, Toxie Hayes, he loves like caprese salads. And when I was in Mississippi hunting with him, he was telling me all about his favorite. It's like going and getting fresh mozzarella and wrapping it with basil and tomatoes from his homegrown tomato and homemade basil. And so then that night I created a recipe for him based off all that stuff. And it's a roulade that is rolled with fresh spinach, fresh basil, fresh garlic, all the stuff is rolled. And then it's soaked in an amazing marinade. And then it's grilled medium rare and then sliced so you have that beautiful pinwheel. And so I was telling that story when it came out. And I look over and I see her take a bite and I didn't think anything of it. I'm like, whatever. At the end, she walks up and she goes, I just want to let you know I'm a vegetarian. I came here because my husband is a hunter and he wanted to have a fun night. And so this is our fun night and yada, yada, blah, blah, blah. And she goes, but I could not help but take a bite because you told such an amazing story that you brought me into the food. And if you can bring me into the food, there's no way that I can say I can't take a bite.
That's great advice almost for anything. Anything that you're trying to, if you really want to create a visceral connection with somebody, you have to tell the story behind it. I think that's important. And that's why I try to do these podcasts, because I want to let people know more about the person other than just some Instagram photos that they put out of their food.
Right. And it was such a cool moment.
That's an amazing moment.
And it's even cooler is that the husband emails me last month, hey, guess who just got her hunting license and wants to go out and go hunting with me? Great. So because of a single bite of food, she goes, you know what? I want to go out and I want to get more meat in our freezer and I want to learn how to cook it. She's Instagramming me pictures of her making meatballs because she's like, I learned how to make a meatball from you. And so now she's making meatballs. She feels more comfortable with the food. And I think that's where a lot of people are turned off is they think it has to be there's two types of wild game cooking that everyone thinks of. Either that pheasant under glass or, jalapeno popper. And there's this world in between that people are scared to touch because grandpa didn't do it that way. Mm-hmm. Or I never learned how to do it. And so when I started From Field to Plate, it was based on I had no one there to teach me how to cook big game or even small game. Like we ate dove literally with seasonings. It was Lowry seasoning salt on a grill until it was well done. I had no idea you were supposed to be eating this stuff medium rare to medium.
Yes, definitely.
And it was like I'm sitting there eating jerky. Yeah, I love dove. I hated dove, but I sat there and ate the dove because we shot it. And now I'm like, literally my daughter's like, Dove, because understanding how to cook it. And so when I started From Field to Plate, it was literally that. Someone asked me what I want to do with my life, and I said, I want to take people from field to plate. And so then I got the company name and did everything else. And I was like, how's this not taken yet?
I'm like, there's no way this hasn't been taken already.
Well, the Instagram name was taken, and I petitioned it because the guy had not been on in 3 years.
So you just
and it was a farmer. It was a farmer in like Wisconsin that had like just a single ear of like fuzzy corn, like sticking up in his picture. And so then they petitioned it for 1 month, and they said, okay, it's yours 4 years ago. And then I was like, thank you. But yeah, I patented everything else because to me, it's truly what it is. It's going from the field to the plate. It's not field to fork. It's how can I create a dish that you go to McDonald's and you see a burger, you want to order that burger because it looks good. You get it, you get it home and you're like, this is crap. Why did I order this burger? And so for me, I want to show people that the food I'm creating, like every single dish that you see that I make, my family eats for dinner. There's no ifs, there's no ands, there's no buts. I don't make food in the middle of the day with glue and sticks and twigs and cardboard. Like that burger you saw is my wife's food. When I quit, my wife gave me this permission to do this, and I say permission because she did. Is for me, she said, okay, but every plate of food, the fancy picture, is my food. And so for the past 4 years, every single plate of food that I take a picture of gets put in front of my wife. Now, mind you, we might deconstruct it a little bit because the burger's got 5 patties on it or something for crazy thing that the company wanted. But that plate of food is what my wife eats, and I take the time to make it look pretty for her, not for the picture, but for my wife. And I think that's where it stands out difference is it's not just a plate of food. It's a substance that I want my wife to be happy that I am making money off of her plate of food.
That is amazing. So when do you think your book will come out?
I'm hoping now that I've got more free time, doing nothing. My goal is to have it come out like right before Christmas. People can buy it. But I'm only going to put out 50 copies. So it's 50 and 50, and I'm going to do 50 copies the first run. And then I'll do a second run with more. But that first limited edition run is going to be 50 copies because I want to keep everything 50. I think it's a cool thing, our 50 states.
You already have a list for that?
For people that want it? No, I'm just going to put it up. First 50 people that get it. And then they're all going to be signed. And I think it'll be better that way than be like, oh, well, sucks to be you. I'm like, hey, November 18th, November 50th, it's going up.
So pay attention. How many photos, I was going to ask you, how many photos have you had on Instagram that have been
blocked?
Blocked, yeah.
I don't know. I have no idea.
Right? Tons, right?
Oh, the more they get blocked, the better it is, because people want to click it and unsee it. Like literally, it gets blocked, and I'm like, yes, I'm gonna hit like 150,000 impressions on this one picture, because everyone's like, what?
Curiosity factor.
Oh yeah. To me, if it's blocked, it's exciting. I've only had, I think, like 25 pictures actually removed by Instagram.
Oh yeah, I forgot that they actually would remove something too.
And some of the ones they remove, I'm like, really? I had 2 dove breasts in my hand. I came up with a post like 3 years ago because of it, and it went viral. But I had 2 dove breasts in my hand, and they censored me for nudity because it was bare breasts.
The word
True story.
Because of the word breast in the post. Maybe?
Yes, because I said 2 naked breasts or 2 naked dove breasts. So they deleted it. So I put it back up. They deleted it again. So I photoshopped bikinis on the dove breasts, and it went stinking viral. And it went.
I saw
insane.
that. I didn't know. I didn't think I knew at the time.
It went insane. I'm like, here, does this work? Covering the breasts. And then like I had one that I was showing a bunch of kids how to butcher a hog, and they censored it and deleted it. And so I went and I photoshopped a giant piece of bacon over the hog. And it looked like I was cutting the bacon. And the bacon was bigger than me. And I was like, and then it stayed up. And people, again, it's one of those deals where I'm like, I'll find a way around it because bacon to you is non-offensive. So this is just bacon.
Yeah.
Meat is meat.
In its purest form, yes.
Yeah. So anyway, man, it was fun. It's been fun to be on, and thanks for chit-chatting about food.
Thank you so much. Yeah, have a great rest of your week. Thank you for taking the time, and I'll talk to you soon.
Yes, sir.